Hi, guys. Thank you. Guys and gals, I should say. So going through the speech, I want to let you guys know that you can raise your hand and ask questions as they come to your mind. I'm totally free with that. Also, I have questions block at the end if you're not welcome to that. So thank you for coming. This is Corporate Fisherman, how to keep the fish in the water and the boat afloat. We're full of puns. I hope you have fun with the speech. A little bit about the fisherwoman you're looking at today. My name is Sam Paquette. My Twitter handle is 6'64". That is a pun on my height. I'm a wife and a mother. I've got a wonderful husband of now 3 years and a daughter who will turn 2 in August. They are my greatest support systems and the reason that I live every day. I'm a security awareness lead at Consumers Energy. I've been at Consumers Energy for 3 years. I started in their cybersecurity incident response team doing blue team activities such as malware analysis, carbon black detection, detection and response, and then eventually moved to program awareness, kept Phishing with me from the cybersecurity incident response team. Took it with me to program awareness to hopefully build the program and make it a little bit larger. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. How to keep phishing as a focus in your company, how we got it to become, how to change the culture to make phishing as important as it is to us today, and of course how to get it in front of your CEO or your executives up there. A little information, so the sharks in the water. So phishing emails, for those of you that may not be aware, are designed to elude somebody into giving you information. So fishermen want your bank account information, your work login information, any elevated access that they can get, anything they can get that would in some way possibly give them money. We have 3 levels of phishing emails that we focus on at Consumers Energy. Level 1 is considered a generalized email. It can go to anybody in the world and in some way relate to them. It can say it's coming from anybody in the world. It's not targeted to anything specific. These are the emails that fishermen will send out like 10,000 at a time just to get somebody to click on it. Level 2 emails are company targeted. Anything that says it's coming to Consumers Energy may have a Consumers Energy logo on it. Say it's coming from a Consumers Energy employee or targeted at Consumers Energy in some way. And level 3 is the spear phishing email. So targeted at an individual, whether it's executive or non-executive. We do keep track of the difference between spear phishing emails at individuals and whaling at our C-level executives and at our president, of course. So upgrading our rowboat to a yacht. In 2015, our level 1 click rate, which is supposed to be the easiest email to detect, was 40%. We initially looked at it and our eyes grew about the size of the planet and realized we had a problem. We wanted to focus on it more. So 2016, we ran level 1 campaign emails quarterly to keep track of how we're doing, but also to try to open up the program and see where we need to be before we start a huge program on this. So we dropped that level 1 click rate to 16%. We started testing level 2. By about end of quarter 2 in 2017, our level 2 phishing click rate was 26%. We knew this was still a problem as the industry average for level 1 was still at 10%, and level 2 being harder emails to detect, being at 26% was a huge issue for us. We knew that the level 2 phishing emails were starting to step up as we had communications with the incident response team, and they could tell us how many level 2 emails we were receiving, how many people were clicking on them, and if it would have caused us any issues. So we added it to this program called EICP. EICP is the Employee Incentive Compensation Program at Consumers Energy, and it determines how much everybody under C-level exec, how much they're going to receive for their bonus. So if we don't meet all of our 16 to 20 goals for the EICP program, potentially you won't get a bonus. So now we're really focusing on it, right? We want everybody to look at phishing and say, hey, I got to take this seriously. I got to learn more about it. I need to put this in my front focus. We want managers to say, I want to focus this at my WARs and MORs, or monthly operating review and weekly operating reviews. It started to become a regular topic at the daily operating reviews even. And then we wanted to open up the training programs to focus a little more on phishing as well. Walking the plank. So how we started was with the level 1 phishing emails in 2015 and the quarterly emails in 2016. That was our foot in the door to kind of show our CISO or executive directors that this is a serious issue. As of 2018, 94% of cybersecurity attacks start with a phishing email. 94%. So you think only 6% could be from somebody logging into a computer or that they already had access to, such as a disgruntled employee or random USB devices. But 94% start already on your network, and then all it takes is a click. So we defined the problem of what we want, where we want to get to. We wanted to get to 20% for 2018 on our level 2 click rates, and then we wanted to keep benchmarking our level 1 against other industry companies. And how we plan to get there. So we had to lay out, in order for this to be an EICP goal for us, we had to lay out an end-to-end process with a detailed action plan on how we plan to get from 26% to 20%. It was considered a breakthrough goal. So for those of you who don't know what a breakthrough goal is, it's a goal that you don't have anybody to compare to, and you don't know how you're going to get there, but you know you're going to do it. Starting the program, the number one thing that I have to bless myself for is that I had leadership that didn't tell me no when I needed to do something or wanted to do something. So if I had an idea such as doing security fairs or security lunch and learns, where I wanted to travel the entire state for a month straight, which was exhausting, by the way, and go to every location I can get to within my budget and just tell them, hey, this is phishing, this is what phishing's doing, and this is what it could do to you. We wanted to train them on what they could do at home for phishing, so helping them keep their kids and their wives and husbands safe. We wanted to teach them what they can do at work and what they can do when they're doing nothing. So meaning like setting up email inbox rules. When you are doing nothing with your inbox, what ways can you do, or what things can you do to keep yourself safe? So email rules in inbox, setting up blocking for certain domains that you don't like, that rules that we allow our employees at our company to maintain every day on top of what we already do. So we had this, most everybody's heard the saying, culture eats strategy for breakfast, so what's for lunch? The idea that culture eating strategy for breakfast is that you can plan, have a budget the size of the earth, do whatever you think that you need to do, but if your company and the culture of your company says, well, we do what we want, your strategy's done. There's nothing you can do, or the idea is there's nothing you can do. Once your culture says that we don't want to do that, they're not going to do it. However, we serve sushi for lunch, and sushi seems to be the latest dining fad. So luckily, everybody ate our sushi. It went across really well with what we wanted to do, and right off the bat, we had our CISO on board. We had our president and CEO on board as well. They were pushing it, and it was a top-down push from leadership, and the employees got on board a lot faster than we thought they would. So culture eating strategy for breakfast, we wanted to flip that upside down and just say that you can change your culture if you've got the tools and the support behind you to do it. So one of the ways we changed our culture was actually creating a mascot called Finn. Finn is a 6-foot shark. He is on our wall with like one of the fat heads for where we report our statistics. We wanted to have fun with the mascot, so he actually has his own show called The Finn Show and a rap video. It's great. So we're now on season 3 of Finn. We have our president and CEO in the Finn Show. We've got our executive director. We've got our CISO. We did a skit roughly 6 months ago. It actually just got launched last week of like a talent show. So we're having a lot of fun with it. We're getting laughs and just getting people to go to Finn's SharePoint site, which he has his own website, to see the videos. It also puts in front of them our EICP goal. So the first thing they see when they log on to Finn's website is how the goal is doing, where we're at, and what we're going to do about it. There's also a blog post that my team maintains. So the blog posts include rules they can set up in their inbox for protecting themselves. There's a blog regarding reporting phishing and why we want to report phishing, which I'll talk a little more on in a bit. There's blog posts about how to keep their kids safe, things to do at home, and then we regularly post how Finn is doing and the things that Finn is doing within the company. So changing your culture yourself is an option, but having the support behind you is going to change the culture regardless of your strategy. So not saying you should have a poor strategy, but if you think you can't change your culture, I'm here to tell that you can. So we had definitely an old-fashioned view of computers where a predominant amount of our employees, I'd have to say about 80% of our employees are 25-year tenured or more. and a lot of them are set in their ways. So you may have heard some companies say that somebody that's been there for 10 plus years, it's really hard to change their ways. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, and you can. So you have to have fun with it. Don't walk into phishing being like, this is what you got to do. We need to be strict about it. There is no laughing because it's a serious matter. If you laugh about it, people are going to enjoy what you're putting in front of them. Make fun of yourself. Make fun of the company in an acceptable way. There are borders you can cross. But change your own culture and don't think you can't. There's nothing stopping you except for yourself. If you think that you're going to be stopped, then you're going to be stopped. Another thing we wanted to focus on when we're doing this phishing program is punitive versus positive. So are we going to feed our fish or are we going to fillet them? Are we going to help our employees grow or are we going to fire them for failing? We have a lot of pushback with, especially with leadership, that when they're clicking on too many of our phishing campaign emails, eventually they should lose access rights. And unfortunately, they would like some of their employees to be fired. I'm entirely against it. I would hate to have me walk into a company, I don't know what I'm doing with phishing, I don't understand it entirely, and all of a sudden I'm fired. It's not the employee's fault if they don't know what phishing is or how serious it could be, but it is my job to make sure they know that. So if I tell, if we have a frequent clickers program, if you click on an email twice or more, you're considered a frequent clicker, or freaks for short. And we have the frequent clicker program so that we know where we need to focus. In 2019, beginning of 2019, in January, our click rate was 2% above our goal. And we wanted to focus on our clickers to see why they're still clicking. So our goal for 2018 was the 20% click rate on level 2 emails. We blew it out of the water and hit 7%, entirely unexpectedly. Was it the culture change? We didn't know. So how do you ask your customer or ask your users what we did that helped them? So beginning of 2019, our goal was going to be set to 5%. And in January, we hit a 9% click rate. So we're already 4% above our goal, right? It's 2% less than what we ended, or 2% more than what we ended 2018, but still 4% above our goal. So we started sending emails. I mean, yeah, we send emails anyway. But we started sending more emails explaining why they shouldn't have clicked on the emails. So there's what we call red flags, and I'll talk more about it in a second. Red flags of the email, and then a survey asking them, why do you think you clicked? So the options of the survey are, I didn't see our red banner, which is, I'll mention in a minute. I didn't see our red banner. I was going through my email too quickly. I have too much email and not enough time. I thought it was an internal email. The content of the email was important to me or relevant to my topics in my job role, or other, and give them the option to tell us why. We now run that email and that survey every month to see how it's changing. The number one response that we get is, I didn't see the red banner, and I was going through my email too quickly, or I have too much email. So instead of punishing the users for clicking on the emails, we want to ask them why, because something in our training isn't right? So if I'm training you, it's not clicking, or it's not sticking, and you're still clicking, so what can I do to make it better for you? I don't want to punish you. I don't want you to be in trouble. You're not going to get fired, but if you're open and honest with me, we can fix this. So the sonar hits and shark advisories are our red banners and our reporting tool. So we want them to report the emails to us when they see something that could be possibly malicious, which would be reviewed by our cybersecurity incident response team. And then we also want them to notice what we call a red banner. When an external email comes into our company, we have a banner at the top that says, email is coming from outside of CMS or CE. Use caution before clicking links and attachments. We've been running this email banner for 7 years now, way before I got there. But initially when they implemented the red banner, they saw a 10% drop in the click rate on emails. And then we also implemented the reporting tool, which is tied into our simulator, our phishing email simulator. So we know how many emails are being reported, and then we can also track how many are malicious, non-malicious, meaning internal, or spam emails. So we want them to report, because of course once we know about that the email exists, then we can do something about it, whether blocking links and attachments, or checking for macros, or growing our tools so that we have better rules set up to prevent these things from happening. And then we want them to notice the red banner every time they see an external email to know that they need to use caution. So if they're not seeing that red banner, which is the main response that we got from our surveys, what can we do to change it? So actually next week I have a meeting to sit down with a new vendor on how to change our red banner, because clearly it's not working for us, right? It's been 3 years that we're trying to get this goal going and try to keep it maintained, and we haven't really done much to change the red banner other than maybe the wording, the location of where it shows up on your email, or the size of the text. We're getting thousands of suggestions from our users in our surveys of how to change the red banner, so why not do it? Why not take the voice of the people and do something about it? So that's part of our culture change, that, you know, I'm not yelling at them for clicking on the email, but their positive from us is that we're going to do something about their voice. They're not just saying, you know, giving us feedback, negative feedback most of the time, and we're not going to do anything with it. I want their negative feedback because I want to know what I'm doing wrong or what I could do better. So to have that mindset that negative feedback is positive feedback, regardless of what it is. I even had someone say that our trainings are too fun and therefore are not trainings. And I said, that's the best negative feedback I could get, right? So you learn something from it, because he got 100% on his quizzes or his knowledge checks. So he learned something, but he's having too much fun. And that's not something I want to stop, because if everybody's having a lot of fun, why not? So we keep the red banner out there. We're going to change it soon. We're using the voice of the people. One thing we can't do is require people to set a time block for going through their emails. So the other response was, I have too many emails, or I don't have enough time to go through the email I have. And you know, we can't stop people from going through email too fast. You know, I can't, that's a behavior change for one person, and we've got 14,000 employees. So I can't force somebody to set a time block for their email, but I can set a company requirement or talk to the proper teams that set the company requirements for emails to reduce how many emails are allowed to be sent in the company. So a small portion of the emails that the 2.5 million emails that go through our email servers each month, a small portion of them are internal communications. There's like impact notifications, system down notifications, weather warning notifications, change freeze notifications, just a small chunk. But then there's also, as you guys know, the marijuana bill passed. There's a ton of emails on that. So that's a notification that we've had to let everybody know that regardless of the laws, this is still our rules, this and that. So, and things similar to that was like what we call Patty's Post. Our president and CEO, her name is Patty Poppy. She has her own blog, and it's called Patty's Post, to set updates for us on things that are happening within the company, maybe information about our stocks or about our enterprise company. But she sends out emails for those periodically. The original discussion with the communications team, was that those emails were going to be monthly. However, if we're getting a complaint that we have too many emails and not enough time to go through them, why should they be monthly? Unless it's necessary, of course, if it's something urgent. Why can't we cut back on the emails we send? So I even used to send emails periodically from Finn saying, hey, it's Valentine's Day. Finn doesn't want to be your Valentine. We don't want your cooties. Please don't click on the phishing emails. And I had to cut back on sending those. So I had to take, eat my own dog food, as my executive director, Jim, likes to call it. When I'm telling people, hey, we have too many emails, we should stop sending emails, that also means I have to stop sending emails. However, the phishing emails are going to continue. Sorry, guys. I bumped it. So, we have to eat our own dog food on that, change the way that we're sending emails. We can't force people to stop looking at their emails or to take time to look at their emails, but we can enforce new rules on when you're allowed to send email communications, how often, and who's allowed to send them. So we also cut back on who is allowed to send to the Exchange group all users, which is, like I said, 14,000 users. I used to be able to send to that, and I got that taken away. Again, eating my own dog food, but it was cut back to executive directors can send, and then specific people with certain rights can send to all Exchange users. So we're slowly cutting back on how many emails the people receive to try to take that feedback in and change things for our users. Before I take any questions, that went a lot faster than I planned it to. Before I take any questions, I just want to point out that anytime somebody comes to us with feedback, we did have somebody that said, Hey, I don't like your program. I'm not going to give feedback on your survey. Surveys are crap. Anytime somebody gives you a negative response on a survey, it gets overloaded by the positive response. I take the positive responses with a smile, of course, because I love to be complimented. Who doesn't? But the negative feedback is the ones that I like to focus on. I want your negative feedback. The fact that you have the empowerment to tell me, hey, I hate your program, your training sucks because it's too much fun, that's what I want to hear. So I want to, develop our training programs in a way that will most likely fit most of the criteria of employees that we have. But we want to have that feedback so that if something's not working for you, then we can use it. We can use that feedback to change things. Whenever you're sending phishing emails, or my team is sending phishing emails, at least once a month, we get an email to our reporting box saying, hey, I really hate how much emails you're sending me. Phishing emails are crap. I know you're sending them. And then we looked at his click rates, and he was a frequent clicker. So I'm like, of course you hate my emails, because now I'm sending you more emails because you're clicking on my emails. Yeah, it's like clicking just because they can. And we did have the response in 2017 when we started the surveys and the lunch and learns traveling the state. We had someone say, I just click on all the emails because I can. I want to see what you're going to do. Are you going to fire me? Are you going to keep your word? If you get fired over phishing emails, I am not going to put my name on it. We have had teams that come to us, and I speak to the executive officers and the president twice annually and more upon the request about what we're doing with the program. And every time, we want to start firing people. We want to start taking away rights. And every time, I have to shoot them down. That's like the mother in me. Like, these are my little tiny humans that I get to love. So I don't want to fire anybody. But also, the feedback with the officer review, just that, they have given their support for our phishing program and what we've done with it. And I have yet to be told no again. But I think the reason we've been so successful, if yet to be told no is probably not a good thing, but the reason that we've been so successful is because we focus on the users and the voice of the people. So the main points I want to hit with you guys is, don't think you can't change your culture. Phishing should still be your number one topic because it's 94% of all cyber attacks start with phishing. If you think you can't do phishing, or if you have questions about your phishing program, I'm always available. My Twitter handle is 6'64". Feel free to take a picture of that. Is there any questions I can answer before I keep rambling? Yeah, what's up?
Do you guys deploy any sort of cloud security, like a group point to diminish the amount of actual phishing emails you get on top of this?
Yes. So we do have email rules set up. And I don't know if I can talk specifically what tools we use, but we do have tools set up that will block emails as they're coming in if they have certain rules on them. So documents that have, they read through the documents. We actually did a phishing campaign one time where I had sent the Google Docs email right after that scam started happening. So if those of you who don't know about the Google Docs emails, it was an email that they literally copied and pasted a Google Docs email, like, you've received a Google document, click here to view it, and then just changed the link of where it was going. Like, it was one of the most legitimate looking phishing emails we've seen. And because we already knew, that a lot of our employees use Google Docs, and we already knew what the email looked like and what it contained, we had set up blocks for that email, and then I went to go send a phishing email based on the Google Docs email, and it, crashed. So I had a 54% click rate within about an hour of the email being sent out, and then we realized it's because our tools were actually looking at the Google Docs, and our protections were keeping us more safe than I was trying to train. So positive, negative on that. I didn't get to train for the Google Docs email, but the positive was that we already had our tools set in place. So I can't speak specifically to what we have, as I don't know what tools I'm allowed to list off, but we do have tools in place to protect before emails get to us. Any question? Yep.
So you mentioned that you send out surveys to people, and the response that you get back most often is that they don't see the red banner.
Right.
Is that the first option listed on the survey always? And have you done
Fifth.
Okay.
It's the same email every month. It's the fifth option. We give them the option of, I don't care, I wanted to click on it, see what happened first. Because we did have people tell us that was their response. But no, it's not the first on the list.
Okay. We just implemented something similar, so I was wondering if it is the first, and they're just clicking into
No. And actually, we get the predominant, besides, the number 3 on the list is other. So we get more responses of people saying other than we do of like the I'm not well trained enough. Which, I mean, it's funny that we put that in the email. Nobody says I'm not well trained enough, because then they think that even though it's an anonymous survey, that all of a sudden I'm just going to like bombard them with training. But it's number 3 is other, and they're the 3 responses that are highest are spread out with 1 to 2 options in between them. Yes. We do. So we have advocates in each organization, and what we were doing before was just sending leadership like their monthly, because we get like a giant CSV file from our tool of who clicked, who didn't click, and who reported, and where they report to, where they clicked from, all that detailed information. And we were sending it to advocates, and the advocates would disperse it amongst leadership. And now what we've done we're partnering with Security Journey, they're based in North Carolina. They have built with us the security leader in a box or leadership training, and then meeting in a box training. So the security leader training is actually something we're also going to push out to our board members. And they're just short videos of how to keep yourself safe, how to keep your family safe, and then information packets beyond that. But then the leader or the meeting in a box training is for leadership to take to their organizations. We get a ton of questions on, I want to talk to my company, or I want to talk to my organization about this, and I don't know what to say. What can I say, and how can you help me? So we can literally hand them a folder of tools with PowerPoint slides, flyers, information decks, or note cards for them to train their people, but then also to get themselves more up to date on the most recent things happening with security. Did you have a question?
Yeah, you said that you were working on getting less email to inboxes.
Right.
Have you had any success with using other communication tools besides like moving things from email to like other platforms? Or
Somewhat, yeah. So we have like SharePoint pages that the whole company uses. Everybody gets their own, or every department gets their own. And we also have iConnect. So rather than sending a whole bunch of these like, hey, this is what's happening, we're doing a march for, like the March for Warmth, we're doing a lot of it on the iConnect page as blog posts. I don't have statistics on how well that's reacted, but I do know that like a ton of people showed up for like the Walk for Warmth. So somehow they're getting that communications, and then we're also pushing it out to the advocates. So if we have, like we had training coming out that we wanted to let the advocates know about, we had let the advocates know that there's going to be a blog post regarding the training, and to send it out to their users. Rather than sending 8,000, 14,000 emails, we just send it to 30 people.
yeah, we kind of say that we try to use Teams to
Right.
help people instead of that, and some people just don't read Teams.
Right.
It's hard to do it.
Right.
I give away free money to use Teams.
So we try to push it through the grapevine, basically. Other questions? Yes.
The person that just clicks through on purpose, do they actually put like credentials, or do they run whatever?
So it's
How far or do they just click and go ha and just click it?
it's a little bit of both. So when we do credential input emails, we don't see what they put in, and that's on purpose, obviously, because then we would have a file of somebody's credentials somewhere. But some of them put in credentials, and some of them click and then exit. Luckily, with our simulation training tool, if you stay on the credential input page long enough, you're pushed through to our automatic education, which is like a 2-minute Vimeo video that we created with Finn. Then they know that it was obviously a phishing email. Because sometimes, like, if I click on an email and I know it was an internal email, but the page it took me to looks a little suspicious, I just sit there and stare at it. So then, in that case, they would know that it was a phishing email. But I don't know exactly how many of the people who just click through for fun have clicked on credential input emails. However, we do have, when we have people that are just clicking through a whole bunch of emails, after they click 5 or more emails, which sounds like a really high number, after they click 5 or more emails, we meet with them in person. So at 2 emails, you get an hour-long training called In the Life of an Analyst. 3 or more emails, we contact your supervisor or your manager, supervisor, letting them know it's a problem. 4 more emails, even especially if you haven't taken your training, because the training is based on when they can do it. We contact the next level up. And we actually did go all the way last year to senior vice president on one person. And then at that point, that was their corrective action to take care of. It was nothing punitive on our part. So beyond making sure that that they're not just clicking through to have fun. We want to have contact with them. So with the email survey after one click, contacting supervisors after another click, we're trying to cut down on the fun of phishing, not the fun of them clicking on phishing emails, not the fun I'm having. Can't stop, won't stop.
He accidentally clicks a real phishing email,
Right.
thinking it's not a
Right.
yours.
Luckily, that's what the incident response team is for, right? So incident response, we like to call our last level of defense. We have the tools that are supposed to stop emails or stop them from getting through to a malicious site. Our users are supposed to be our next line of defense of deciding not to click on the email. But at that point, we will re-image a machine if they do click on legitimate phishing emails. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if we fired them. At that
Not on my watch. I'm not going to fire you. I also don't have the right to fire people. So, although I walk around all day like, you're fired, you're fired. I fired my boss one time. But yes, we don't fire. It's up to the supervisor. Yes.
We talked a little bit about addressing groups a little bit differently in terms of general users versus admin.
Right.
I've noticed that in my user base, the technologists are more concerned about how are we improving, especially IT processes, and then they'll want to see, okay, I'm getting feedback. How is that being changed? I'm wondering, how did you communicate that? I know you mentioned the new blog post. I'm wondering, what kind of details did you
Communicating changes to our users. Okay.
and do you have learning from that? Do you have any recommendations on how to speak to those technologists and changes?
So some of it we included in what we call the. Oh, he's an advocate. Apparently, hey Darcy, when you get back to your computer. So some of it we included in what we call the Security Ocean, and this is the training that two of the trainings within the Security Ocean are phishing trainings or security trainings alone, but most of them are broad spectrum security for what we call level 1 beta, level 2 puffer, level 3 barracuda, and that's going to be rolled out over the next 5 years. We include in there what we've changed to help the users, so that, and it's required. Some of the 11 of the 20 modules in there are required. And then the feedback in it with, because they get what we call a net promoter email every month for if they liked the training and what we could change about it. But we conclude in the training points that how we've changed security as a program and how we've changed the security awareness program. And then we keep, with the blog post, we do expect our advocates to push that out. Because of the fact that we're trying to eliminate how many emails we send every month, we don't let everybody know on a broad spectrum or a mass communication that we've changed these things. But when we do have a PO box in our email boxes, the members of our team monitor it, where if they have a question or if they want an update on it, they can communicate with us anytime. If I can't answer their question, I'm going to find somebody who can. So, and that's communicated through the Fin website as well, that anytime they have a question or they need an update on something, they can contact us in the PO box. So rather than doing the broad communication, we try to keep it as one-to-one as we can. Yeah. What's up? So we actually have the tool we use is through Cofense Phish Me Reporter. So when they see an email they think it's suspicious, we ask them to use their gut feeling. Of course, we have a list of red flags that I can go over, but they're just hit that report phishing button. It's got like a shape of a fish icon on it, so that if they have a suspicious email or think they have a suspicious email, they can report it phishing. That goes directly to the cybersecurity incident response team, where they look at any links and attachments in the email to see if anything is malicious and block as needed. The red flags that we tell them to look for include email addresses not matching signature lines, and this is part of their required training when they're hired in, and also as their annual training for these red banners. But to look for the email address not matching signature lines, hovering over links that go to websites to see if it's actually taking you where it's going to go, grammar and spelling errors, to see if it's an external email, like saying it has the red banner on it, but it claims it's coming from an internal link. We do have a lot of people receive invoice emails, so if they're someone who doesn't usually receive invoice emails or receiving an invoice from somebody they don't normally contact, that's considered a huge red flag. We did have a user receive an invoice about 10 minutes after they had paid an invoice to that company, and we emailed them saying, hey, your invoice has been paid. And then she got about 10 minutes later got an email back saying, hey, we need you to pay this invoice. So luckily she saw all the red flags in the email, called the company and said, I just received another invoice from you. I'm not due to pay you again until I receive my invoice next month. Why did you send me another invoice? And that's when that vendor realized that they were breached. And somebody had been monitoring their inbox to see who had been communicating with them and responding with more invoices. Yes? Minimum once a month, and then spear phishing and whaling campaigns as requested by supervisors. And we do, that's the level 2 emails. And level 1 is to keep benchmarking across the industry. We do it quarterly. Currently, we are best in industry with a click rate of 1%. The average for the industry, average click rate is roughly 10% for level 1. And our reporting rate is currently between 60 and 70%, and best in industry, or the next industry average for that is between 40 and 50%. Yep, what's up?
Kind of following up on his, with everything that gets reported in your IRT set, do you have an issue with the over-reporting?
Yes. So a lot of people use the report phishing button as a delete button. And we had one person report 1,000 emails in 1 month, which at that point is ridiculous. And we had a mass communication sent out where everybody was hitting reply all, because instead of BCCing the company, they just CC'd them. So when you hit reply all, it was sending an additional 8,000 emails every time. So of course we shut that down as fast as we could, but we have people who reply all, it overloads the CSERT team with having that, or not reply all, with reporting when they should have deleted. So we had meetings one-on-one with them, and we call them frequent reporters. And then we try to teach them what a delete button is. You had a question?
Do you focus at all on phishing of your customers? Or like,
We want to.
okay, I didn't know if
So,
you had a program for that.
yeah, we're starting the program with that. Actually, I had a meeting on Monday, and I have another one next Wednesday for what we call a service catalog. And we want to get into small business owners and help them become more secure with cybersecurity and with physical security as well. So what we're going to start is a security catalog where they can come to us with help, and then we'll initially start by going to them and saying, hey, we have this available, are you interested? So that they can keep their users safe and in return keep us safe.
People are probably already trying to phish your customers using fake emails from your
Right.
company, so
Yep.
it's probably good to get on that yourself.
Right, exactly. So we're trying to jump, for lack of better terms, jump the gun on it and start with our small business owners. Yes?
Can you talk more about how phishing performance is tied to people's bonus objectives?
So phishing performance, it's one of between 16 and 20, depending on how many are agreed to that year by our executives and through the what we call world-class performance team. If we meet all of those goals, ideally we'll receive all of our bonus, right? If we meet, and I'm not totally sure this is like examples. I don't know how they calculate this, but if we meet half of it, the theory is that you'll receive half of your bonus. However, it's weighted. So if I miss the phishing goal by 1%, that doesn't entirely take away their bonus part of the phishing. It will deduce it because we were so close to the goal. There's just a little more we could do. So we're going to take away a little bit of their bonus, not give them all of it. But if we meet all 16 of those goals, the EICP goals, then you get your whole bonus. So phishing is just part of the EICP program.
Is that at the individual level or the organizational level?
I'm not entirely sure, but thank you, Andy. Organizational level. Other questions? Yes, in the back. The whole company, not including most contractors. So we have to have in the contract, which I had 2 executive officers on Tuesday tell me that the contracts can be changed, but we Phish contractors on an as-needed basis if their contract lays out that we can test them. Other than that, we test the entire company on a monthly basis, which is roughly between 8,000 and 9,000 people. I'm sorry?
How do you cut down on chatter from each employee who sees the video?
And forwards, or something like saying, hey, warning of phishing emails. Is that what you're speaking of?
If I got phished and I went to the video because I thought phishing campaign,
Right?
how do you cut down on the chatter from me going over to John and saying,
So it's more of a bowing on our hands and knees and saying, please don't. We can see when people forward, but now they're getting smart and screenshotting the emails and then sending a new email communication. So they're like loopholing things, which, you know, is like cool that they can figure that out, but like not cool because then they're not getting trained, right? So we call that herd immunity. And the herd immunity is great, not great. So if it was a real phishing campaign or like a real phishing email and they're saying, hey, don't click on this if you received it, it is real phishing, I just got the confirmation from CSER or something just happened to me, that's awesome. And we don't want to tell them 100% that's a totally terrible thing to do with the campaign emails because you're screwing our numbers, because it's herd immunity. I don't want them to think that they can't protect each other. So it's more of a, hey, if you know it's a phishing campaign email and it's not actually malicious, please let it go. However, if you think it's a real phishing email, please use herd immunity. Yes?
So, two questions.
Sure.
First, that you mentioned about trying to roll this out to your small businesses.
Right.
That includes the vendors that are assisting with like the ASP program?
I'm not sure exactly what the ASP program is.
Client service program.
Oh, yes. So it's anybody that has a contract with us that we communicate with on a business level. So small business owners, meaning like business owners that have CE or CMS as a utility, but also the people that we program with for our internal programs as well.
So then the second one,
Yep.
I'm in a situation where my leadership absolutely refuses to roll out any kind of phishing program. Because they
I'm going to talk to them.
feel dumb, afraid to change it. So you said that you have someone in leadership that wants to punish
Right.
employees. But do you have any leadership that absolutely doesn't support it?
Yeah, like 70% of our leadership is against punitive, against punitive, and all for the positive. That they're against the phishing program. I have yet to receive feedback that we should shut down. And that's because we've pushed so hard proving to them that this is an issue. I mean, the CSERT team, the blue team, you know, most of their job role, or at least half of their job role, is paying attention to phishing emails. And if we can, you know, provide the funding for them to do that every single day, then why not provide the funding for training people to help them with that? So if we're reporting the phishing emails and also reporting spam emails, one thing less they'll have to do is go dig through the spam emails if they learn. So, you know, it's going to cut back in the funding or not cut back on the funding, but cut back on the expense of having to do incident response. So less images you have to, or less machines you have to re-image, you know, less chance of having a breach. So my recommendation to you is to go to him and, you know, show him that 94% of cyber attacks start with a phishing email, but millions of dollars could be saved by not having that breach. Right. You should send them to me. I don't get shut down very quickly. Or if I do, I don't stop. Being empowered to have a voice at my job has really made me like a bulldozer when it comes to phishing. Other questions? Yep. It's generalized. So there's placeholders, as we call them, where they can give or get information from us. We have had the request actually more times than not for organizations to have their personal click rate information in there. So if they don't feel comfortable presenting the meeting in the box information themselves, they have the right to ask us to come and present it for them with more detail. So the advocates receive the organizational information, so they have the click rates monthly. Some of them, it's all in Excel CSV files, so some of them don't have the knowledge in Excel to do data analytics on that, and we're happy to provide that for them upon request. In the event that they need something presented. So if they want more detail, they're welcome to ask us, and we've communicated that with the advocates, but the meeting in the box is generalized towards everybody in the company, so anybody could use it. Does that answer your question? Right. We haven't thus far, besides the topics of the emails being sent as campaign emails to further test to see if we're vulnerable to that. However, last month our data analytics responded to us that we have a problem in certain organizations. So we want to target those organizations specifically. We don't have a plan laid out yet, but we do have actions to take to speak with people within that organization to see why they could be clicking, or if they're not trickling down the importance from their leadership of the importance of phishing, right? So if you receive these phishing emails every month and you hear nothing else about it from your advocate or from your leadership, that it's important to not click on them and important to learn more about phishing, then that could cause some of this to be happening. So we're going to do more analytics, which started last month, on the organization that we're having problems with the high click rate, but also having high head count. So we are going to modify some of our training to target them. We haven't thus far. Okay. Yes.
How do you deal with distribution returns of your metric accuracy is referred in? In essence, you send out an email list. The first people who see that are going to be the most likely to click on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because as it goes on, we'll discuss amongst themselves, hey, that's her phishing email. And then whoever looks at the email later then has like an added level of protection.
Right.
Now other people have already told them, don't click on that.
So you're asking how we cut back on that?
Well, no, from a metric standpoint, how would you, do you have a way that you feel more accurately reports what could happen if that wasn't in place? Or do you just account for that as that's a natural part of any phishing scheme?
We count it as a natural part and an accepted risk. So when we learned that this was happening, we actually learned because somebody forwarded the email and said, don't click on this because it's a phishing email. And then somebody clicked on it through the forwarded email. So I was like, yeah, funny, not funny, right? So when it was, of course, luckily it was a campaign email that it happened, but the campaign URLs that are sent monthly are unique to that user, and they change for every user as it's sent. That's part of the tool's expectations with us. So when they clicked on it, the other person got reported as clicking on the link, and then they're like, I didn't click, and then we're like, yeah, but our SIM told us that you forwarded it. So cutting back on the phishing emails being forwarded, we've requested if they're going to do it, because a lot of people are the can't stop, won't stop mindset. If they're going to do it, screenshot it and forward it that way. I hate telling them no, because if it's a real phishing email, telling them not even to screenshot it, they could save somebody, but not forwarding absolutely is like forwarding is a big no-no. So we do keep tracking the SIM, but we don't have a metric reporting on our diminishing returns of having people forward it. So whether or not we're losing clicks, which losing clicks is something we'd rather have than having too many, but we don't have any metrics on whether or not we're losing clicks or losing reporters based on herd immunity.
You don't track, say, like the crest of the campaign where you see at what point it hits its critical mass and
Right.
drops off and immediately takes it.
We do track the peaks of when it hits the high point of clicks, but we don't track how that relates to herd immunity. Other questions? Yes.
You mentioned earlier that you were able to identify the Google Drive campaign
Right.
going on at that moment in time. How do you identify different trends going on, or how do you do research on different trends going on, especially regarding phishing?
So we do keep communications with other companies in the industry. When they see something, it's been more recent than in the past, but when they see something that they find is suspicious or could be like a huge risk, we communicate with them regarding that, and then if we see something, we communicate to them, right? Now, the reason we found the Google Docs email is because we received it, and that's how we knew like this could be an issue, and then it was also like all over the news 2 days later. So the communications we have are with other people in industry are for like the basis of keeping each other safe, because it's a competitive market, but it's not competitive on who's going to get hacked. Like I don't want you spending $420 million on a breach, and then potentially it happening to me. I want to know how you were breached so that I can prevent it from happening to me. So those communications are in point to keep track of the current phishing emails that are out there, and then we also keep track on our CSIRT team has like multiple screens in there running through like different websites that report out phishing attacks that are happening. Some of them are Twitter blogs that are going out reporting phishing emails that are happening. So we try to keep in the social network as much as we can to keep track of what's happening in the cyber world with phishing. But we also do communicate with our partners in the industry, or not, partners and non-partners in the industry. Does that help answer your question? Okay, cool. Any other questions, comments, concerns, snide remarks? I'll take all of it. Ben, you have a Snyder mark, I know it.
How were you able to get leadership to tie it to the IC people to sell it as a safety issue?
We sold it as a safety issue and a budget issue. So when you think about, like, Lansing Board of Water and Light, it's kind of well known now. In 2016, one IT analyst clicked on a phishing email, and they were shut down for 2 weeks. People couldn't pay their bills, which is an expense problem as it is. And then also that it cost them $2.5 million total in insurance claims, the reporting issue, and then getting the ransomware off their computer. So they had to pay the key, which was only like, to get the key was like $25,000, but it cost them $2.5 million. So we had to sell them on that point of all these companies that had these breaches, including like Target, which was the HVAC vendor, right? That cost them $420 million. So, you know, we sold it as a budgeting issue, but we also sold it as a safety issue, because if a whole bunch of people are clicking on phishing emails and handing out their credentials, how do we keep up with, if we're not seeing any action for 6 months, which sometimes happens, how do we keep up with how many credentials we have that are leaked? So we could have credentials out there and, you know, 6 months down the road after the credentials were handed out, have a breach, and not realizing that it happened 6 months ago. So it's a safety issue on that part, but it's a huge budget issue, especially being a regulated utility. You know, every dime that we spend, we have to like justify it. So if we're spending $2.5 to $420 million on security breaches, something that could be prevented or we could have trained on, like that's something we really need to focus on. So we sold it as a budget issue, but also as a safety issue. Other questions? Cool. Well, I'll be around for the rest of the day. I do plan on staying for closing remarks. You can also reach out to me on Twitter at 6'64". I'm open to questions, concerns, and I'll still take those Snyder marks. So thank you guys for listening to me today.